much, Dr. V.R.S. Sampath. I'm not too sure if I'm worthy of the kindest words you've said, but I will try to do some justice. Honorable Mr. Justice H.L. Gokhale, former Supreme Court Judge of India. Honorable Dr. Justice S. Vimala, member, Tamil Nadu State Law Commission. Other esteemed dignitaries, participants, a good afternoon from cold Italy. Virtual meetings in this digital era are astounding. It unites individuals across the globe without considering national or international boundaries. Dr. V.R.S. Sampath, the editor of Sattakadir, a pioneer of the legal fraternity, author of many books, educationalist, and I have no other words to describe his par excellence, has proven, in fact, that there is no national or international boundaries by organizing the 29th Sattakadir Global Conference on Law and Justice, uniting honorable judges from the Supreme Court of Seychelles and India, judges from the High Court of India, government officials, esteemed professors from renowned universities, advocates from different continents, especially Avvocato Katia Bonsignore from Italy, journalists, students, participants across the globe who has brought in these 2 days with them wealth of experience in the fields of their expertise, and I'm earnestly grateful to Dr. V.R.S. Sampath for having given me this opportunity to learn and share my thoughts in this virtual forum. I have attended many non-virtual and virtual events in the recent past, organized and addressed to, but this 29th Sattakadir Global Conference on Law and Justice is most unique to me for many special reasons, and I would like to highlight a few. I was most fortunate to have known, met, and learned from Honorable Mr. Justice H.L. Gokhale, the Chief Justice of today's session, Chief Guest of today's session, who told me whilst I was pursuing my undergraduate degree in London that education is the key for a woman to achieve independence. And he told me that I see you are independent at a very young age in the land which is the mother of all law, and continues to encourage me in the path of my education even whilst I was in Italy. And today I hope, Lordship, I have done some justice to your encouragement as I attempt to address on constitutional rights and education. I fondly remember being called by Dr. Justice Vimala to her chamber after her ladyship had read my article on right to education of women and children, and she patted me and said, "We educated women because it changes the world, and we are women in this continent who are subject to domestic violence, and I do believe that in some way we have to create awareness so that we don't fall a prey." It is rare to witness mentors and colleagues share the same platform, breaking such stigma, sharing this virtual podium with Avvocato Katia Bonsignore, senior advocate from Italy, author and a pioneer in the legal fraternity in Italy, whom I work for, but she would surely prefer if I said work with, has been inspirational in my career, especially in my academic aspiration. In the most recent past, not only did she encourage me to pursue a course in International Labour Organization on international law, but decided to study with me together, thus imparting education in its literal sense, and said to me, "When girls are educated in the country becomes stronger for a better future. So let us do it together." I believe that education is internationally recognized as a fundamental right. The world witnessed a pause on right to quality education in the pandemic era. We saw empty chairs instead of children in schools, and in some parts, the pause is a lot longer and still continues. At this juncture, it is important to know that such pause can only be temporal as we battle to protect this fundamental right. On the other hand, there are certain parts in the world where children are deprived unintentionally, and in some cases, very intentionally, of this very constitutional right to education. The Constitution of the United States guarantees that equal educational opportunity, no matter what their race, ethnic background, religion, or sex, or whether they're rich or poor, citizens or non-citizens. In addition to this, it also guarantees that local law must protect students against discrimination based on sexual orientation, disability, including pregnancy. Although students with disability may not be capable of having the exact same education with that of a non-disabled student, federal law requires that they be provided with education that is appropriate for them. Evidence from 1920 to 1990 in Canada demonstrates that lengthening the duration of mandatory education significantly increased both the average amount of schooling completed and the adult income of individuals who would have otherwise dropped out. Thus, making education compulsory has also shown to increase school persistence. Great Britain increased the minimum school leaving age from 14 to 15. Over the course of these years, dropout rates of 14-year-old decreased from 57% to less than 10%. India has the world's largest number of youngsters. At the same time, 1/3 of the world's illiterate population too, unfortunately. It is not as though the literacy levels have not increased, but it is rather increasing rapidly, slowly, and after making multiple efforts on right to educational constitutionally, it still is in words of statutes, which is rather unfortunate. Longer duration of compulsory education has been linked to increased educational attainment in several European countries. I will be failing in my duty if I do not mention that education in Italy, like many other European countries, constitutionally guarantee the right to free public education and are also affordable, as the government as the whole embraces the right to education to its future generations, regardless of the nationalities. And therefore, I encourage younger participants and the parents of younger participants to impart and embrace this right to international education and uphold constitutional right to education at your homes. When this change begins at home, it impacts positively in the society, nation, and in the world as a whole. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights guarantees the right to education and specifies that schooling should be free and compulsory at primary levels. 160 ratified countries of International Covenant on Economic and Social Cultural Rights reaffirmed this commitment and pledged to make secondary and higher education accessible to all, progressively free or affordable in certain circumstances. In 1989, the Convention on the Right of Child broke new ground, identifying children as bearers of the rights and established Committee on Rights of the Child to monitor enforcement of these rights. 193 state parties to the convention committed to providing free and compulsory primary education, making secondary education available and accessible to every child, though measures such as introduction of free and affordable education and making higher education accessible to all on basic capacity. Multiple international agreements are protected and protects equal rights of specific groups, also recognize the right to education. These include the International Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, the Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women, the Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and so on and so forth. Thus, constitutional protection at all levels has appeared to have increased in the recent past. It is now our individual and collective duty to embrace this right. At this juncture, I quote Honorable Mr. Vito Bonsignore, former member of the European Parliament, father of Avvocato Katia Bonsignore, who voted in favor of combating violence against women in the European Parliament. And I quote, violence against women is caused because of cultural backwardness and reduction of education. I am humble yet a proud daughter of one of the highly qualified judges in India who has 14 degrees after her name, including 2 doctorates. And finally, I fondly remember my grandfather who told me that education is your passport to your future. I have mine, and I encourage you all to have yours too. Once again, I would like to thank Dr. V.R.S. Sampath and Sattakadir for organizing this remarkable and illuminating global conference on law and justice, uniting people across the globe. And I hope that he will continue to do so. And I earnestly thank him for always and consistently encouraging youngsters like myself at every virtual and non-virtual platform. Thank you very much once again.